All right, I believe we are now live. So thank you if you're watching this live or tomorrow or the day after, the week after, whenever. A little bit of a delay though. I wanted to start on the dot. So it's 5 p.m. Mauritius time. I should have made that clear. I do apologize. Yeah, 5 p.m. Mauritius time. Just trying to figure out some new, I think they're new changes that Facebook have made. But anyway, we're here. So hello everyone to what is hopefully the first of many videos, live themed videos, and unofficially I've called them food for thought discussions. They're not meant to be lectures, they're not meant to be um, really long videos at all. I'm trying to keep them as, you know, short and sweet, trying to just get to um, some main points of the theme of that particular video. So yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time, but just really to speak about an issue, and also I'd love to hear your experience and your thoughts and your opinions, etc., on what I'm talking about, basically. Um, just a little bit on the videos itself because it is the first one. So what day is it today? It's the 20th of November today. September, not November. I've skipped ahead. It's 20th of September today, which is the first video. So I plan to do these at the moment, hopefully once a month. Just a little video once a month, and sort of see how it goes, really. So let's move on to the theme of today, which is what is it like to live abroad? What is it like to be an immigrant? What is it like to be an expat? What is it? What's that experience like? And obviously, this is a counseling page. So, what are the problems that we may or may not realize when we are living abroad, or when we choose to live abroad, perhaps? So, a little bit about me. Obviously, this is something, if you don't know me, this is an issue that does touch me personally because I am originally from the UK. I now live in Mauritius, the beautiful island of Mauritius. So it's definitely something that I have experienced personally, that I still continue to experience, I'll say. So yeah, when I was writing this, just a few on the surface points I wrote in my blog, which there is a link in the description below. I believe it's a description. It's the 7 things that come up when you're living abroad, but obviously there's so many. There's so many that you really cannot name, and I really just condensed them to 7, and some of them, my own experiences. I'm not going to go too deep into those experiences, but let's have a look. So the first one I put down, and this is in no particular order, by the way. It's not like, the first is the biggest or not at all. But the first is what I think one of the biggest, and that is language. So when you are, when you live in a different country, um, you may be living in a country that speaks a completely different language. So may not be, if it's an English speaking country to another one, that's absolutely fine. But even then, what I touched upon in language is you might know the language, sort of like, individual words. I can speak fluently, for example. But even the same language, for example, British American and a British English, I apologize, British English and American English um, are very different. And I know a lot of people will agree with me, the way certain expressions are used. Um, the way certain words to use, different words for different things, for example. So there's still a lot of differences even in the same language. So just imagine living in a country that's speaking a different language. Now, one of the things um, which certainly is a personal experience is if you don't know a language or you feel you can't speak a language as fluently as you do your mother tongue, sometimes that can make you feel a bit um, left behind. You know, it can really have a knock-on effect on your self-confidence, and sometimes it can make you feel a little bit stupid because maybe you can't follow a conversation, or maybe you can understand it, but expressing yourself in a different language, it feels like your brain actually works harder because you're thinking more about what to say, how to say it, how's it going to come across. So it's definitely a difficult point. So you might just come across, another point to that is, if you don't have the confidence to speak, let's say in a conversation, as fluently as you would do in your native tongue, you might also come across as being a bit offstandish, a bit arrogant, a bit shy, whatever, to a different person, to an outsider, because you're not speaking. But the reality really is you don't feel confident to speak in that other language. So that's really, really, that can be dangerous sometimes. And like I say, really leave a massive effect on your self-confidence. So language is, such a massive, such a massive point there. So the next one is culture. I mean, culture in itself. Where do I start with culture? I couldn't condense it, literally wrote a few sentences on it, and I'm definitely going to do some more videos more specifically at some cultural aspects, but just culture in general. Is a massive thing. And in my blog, I just wrote a funny, what I thought was, a humorous example of standing in a queue. Being a Brit, I don't know if other Brits will agree with me, but standing in a queue, being good, standing in a line. But where I live now in Mauritius, I'm not saying, people don't do that. We do that, absolutely. Um, but for example, when I go to my local shop and it's really busy, I literally have two items, or my tea bags and milk or whatever, and the person in front of me has like four or five baskets of food completely full, and I'll be standing there waiting for them patiently to go, and the shopkeeper will say, just come here, come and pay for your two items, and that's fine. But I would never sort of be forward to cut the queue or anything like that. So that was just a silly example, but so many cultural aspects, and the cultural mentality also, um, which can be quite difficult to adapt to. It's kind of, the way a culture is becomes quite uh, deeply ingrained in us, that we might not even realize a lot of things until we move to a different country, and that's when it's really kind of put in the spotlight, to be honest. And that's when you might be realize that's why you might realize how different some things are. So there you go. I'll definitely come back to that in future talk. So the third point is obviously leaving family and friends. Obviously, you're going to lose your support system. Obviously, speaking in a counseling context, or I get my words properly, in a counseling context, it's all about having support. We have some issues, we have problems, we have whatever on our mind. And, the first port of call is to go to our family, our friends, colleagues, whoever. So when you're losing your country, when you're moving your country rather, you're potentially losing that support system. Now, as you can see, through the magic of technology, obviously we can speak to family through, whatever means. I'm not going to name anything, but we can video call, we can call, so much better than 20 years ago where my parents were writing letters. Remember those blue airmail letters? My God. Now it's just like, oh, press of a button and I can see you. So it's so much better. But obviously it doesn't have that physical aspect, which a lot of people do crave. Obviously, we've just gone through a pandemic. Well, we still are in a pandemic. And despite the fact that, yes, we can still meet up on Zoom for dinner, or we can chat, whatever, we can still go on live, we can still get on contact. That physical contact is just unmatched, really. So there you go. Losing a support system by leaving your family and friends can be really, really difficult. Absolutely. So number four, and hopefully, I don't want to go too deep or dark, but it really does reflect the counselling nature of this discussion. So despite moving countries, a lot of people might think, oh, I'm going to move country. Um, it's going to be great. It's so positive. My life is going to change for the best. It's just going to, my life is just going to be great. And I hope it does. I really hope it does. In so many aspects, it does. But unfortunately, when you do move country, your problems tend to follow you. So, it might bring to surface some deeper ingrained issues that you might have, again, not naming anything in particular, too general to say. But yeah, unfortunately, all issues won't leave you. Um, and on the contrary, it might actually become even more highlighted. Um, Hopefully, this might be something or a trigger if needed, if these issues really are um, stopping you from living your best life, from stopping you from living healthily day to day, then maybe it might be a point to seek support in whatever manner that might be. Um, so it could be a good thing. All these points that I mentioned are good. Have their good and have their bad. They're not all just bad. But where certain problems might follow you, um, you might kind of be forced to look closer at them. So there we go. All right. So let's come on to the next one, which is, yeah, I like this one, bureaucracy. So I came across this one while doing a little bit of research on this subject, and it was very, I said, yep, 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 tick, tick, tick. So bureaucracy, the way a country works, in terms of how can I, well, yeah, there you go, bureaucracy, just normal things. And again, in my blog, I do write a slight example. I don't want to go too far into it, but the small things just make me realize how much I took them for granted. So just kind of for the example I use, I'll say it because I wrote it, me submitting a form, an important form, and not getting any kind of response back, not having anywhere to contact, not getting any kind of response. Um, and, that left me quite frustrated because I was used to getting responses, back home, emailing, if you need something, no matter how big the organization is, they would get back to you. In my experience, I know everyone won't agree, but in my experience, and again, this is not to say that things back home are great and fantastic because they're not. They're really not, but just a small example. But just getting used to different legal systems, different systems of bureaucracy, just the way things work in a country can be quite uh, mind blowing, to be honest. This isn't bureaucracy. But one thing that's come to mind, and this can blend in culture, whatever. I think it's more. I have to say, it's driving. It's driving. Um, yeah, driving here in Mauritius again. I don't want to put it bad, but in the UK we do have the highway code, and I'm sure we have that here too, but it's just so different, is what I want to say. It's just so different, and it takes so much getting used to. And being a driver myself, it took a lot of getting used to. Um, Still, I drive. I've lived here for nearly 4 years now, and I still find myself being very courteous as I should be, but when it's really not needed or where it's not appreciated, I don't know. Um, yeah, driving's a big one. So anyway, coming back to bureaucracy, um, yeah, you might feel in the example I gave, not getting the email. It does leave you a bit frustrated, and it makes you feel like you're jumping through so many more more hoops, um, where things are difficult enough, especially adapting to a new country. So there we go. Number six. So again, this is, a big one, a deep one, if I can use the word deep. Um, having some self-doubt, questioning your decision to move. Um, Obviously, we question ourselves all the time. I know I do. My God, am I indecisive? But, questioning your decision to move on a really deep level can be, having a lot of self-doubt can be um, quite stressful, which is a small word, quite be, a bit detrimental, um, because it's not just, having self-doubt on a certain decision, but it's having self-doubt on whether I made the right decision to move to a different country. What happens if you feel that actually I regret that, um, or I shouldn't have done it? Um, what happens then? Well, what does one do at that point? Having to go back, having to trace back the steps. It's not impossible, obviously, but yeah, it can be difficult, especially some people where they move to a country maybe for a better life and for whatever reason didn't work out and they come back. There's that issue of, oh my God, I didn't make it. I'm going to look like, you know, a bit of a loser, or I'm going to feel unsuccessful, or whatever. Those feelings can definitely come in. So it could be a case of maybe you did move and you moved back for whatever reason. What feelings come with that, I wonder. I do mention this in the blog. So there's this program. I don't know if it still plays in the UK, but I think it was called A Place in the Sun, and it was the Australia version, Down Under. And people from the UK would go to Australia or New Zealand, I think it was one of the two, basically making the decision to move or to stay in the UK. And they stay there for a week. And I always wondered, I always thought, is a week really enough to make that informed decision? Obviously, what we see on television is just a drop in the ocean. But what do you do when you are making a decision to move? How can you truly add the pros and the cons together to say, yes, I think it's a good idea, or no, I think it's not a good idea? Because unless you live this, so this is again, drop of my experience, unless you live in a different country, you will never know what it's truly like to live in that country. People go on holiday and say, "Oh, I love to live here," but that's on holiday. Living there is a whole different, story. So can we truly make that decision to move unless we are actually living in that country? How can we truly make that decision? All right, so let's go to the last point that I mentioned in the blog, and it's hopefully finishing on a lighter point, maybe not so impactful as the other ones that I've mentioned, but I love it. It's food. So, obviously, you moving country, you're not going to um, have the food. Maybe you might not have the food that you get back at home. Not completely, I know. So from Mauritius to the UK, yes, of course, we can make it, but it's not the same. You don't go out on the streets and you're getting the street food from Mauritius. Um, I know I certainly miss a Friday. What I wouldn't do for a fish and chips, or a kebab. My kebab, I know I miss my kebab. Kebab and chips. We just can't get the same in Mauritius. But yeah, we do miss the food. And as someone who I am bit of a foodie. Does it is it's a big part of my life. It's not a massive problem, of course, but you do have to adjust. And maybe someone moving from Mauritius to a different country, I can imagine that might be even more difficult. Obviously doable, but just thinking about, like, I went shopping today, just getting vegetables in the market in Mauritius. We do get them, obviously, back in the UK, but it's not the same. It's not the same. The availability is not the same, not at all. So yeah, we do have to compromise on that, and we don't really have a choice, to be honest. So there we go. Food. I wonder, have you moved country? What do you miss? What do you like? Has something replaced it? What do you love in your new food? I mean, I love so much food here, which is fine. But I swear, when I go back to the UK, I will be having so much food in the first week. Definitely, that's happened. All right, so there you go. So there you go. So just a few points there, and there's so many more. I had a few just before coming live. I did think of a few things, didn't note them down, silly me. But yeah, I can't remember them at the moment. But yeah, so many different things, so many more that I've mentioned, and I would really love to hear what your experiences are. What have been your difficulties living in a different country? Um, what did you like? So, we've spoken about the mostly the negatives. What are the positives, obviously, of living? A lot of things like culture, language, obviously positive. Obviously, it's opening the doors to a new world. Food, obviously, is a good thing. Culture, we are learning a different culture. So there's certainly positives to so many of these, absolutely. But what have you found difficult moving country? I would love to know. I would love to know. Do let me know either in the comments if you're comfortable to let me know, or you can message me directly. You can also email me at ushascounselling@gmail.com. There's a link to my website, which is the blog there. And I'd love to leave you with this question. I do ask on my blog, are you the kind of person who will slowly immerse into a new way of living, or are you quite resistant to a new way of living? Are you milk in water? Do you slowly change to adapt to that new environment, even changing it slightly? Because when you add a drop of milk and water, it does change it, doesn't it? But you certainly immerse yourself. Or are you oil? Do you just stay away from it? You don't mix with it at all. I'd love to hear how you feel. So thank you so much. I'm going to end it there. I think that's brought us to about 20 minutes or so, which is what I was aiming for. I hope um, this has given some food for thought. I would love to hear your feedback, your comments, your opinions on this theme, rather. And I hope you have a great week. It's Monday evening. I really hope you have a great week, a safe week. And I do wish you great physical and great mental health. So do take care. Bye bye.